Welcome and thank you for joining InHand's webinar on cellular connectivity solutions for retail and commercial applications. I ask that you hold all questions until the end, and that time we'd be more than happy to answer any that you have. So recently, just as a little bit of background, InHand Networks has been expanding outside of industrial automation, our traditional markets, and we're expanding more into unintended retail, such as ATMs, kiosks, different types of digital signage, POS, because we found that a high amount of reliability, security, and network management is needed in these. So obviously our product line is a pretty good fit, so we're kind of expanding out. And the purpose of this webinar is to just talk a little bit about some of the solutions we've been providing and how our products and our cloud platforms and some of our end-to-end solutions have been helping facilitate to meet the needs of this new market. So my name is Kenneth Hunter. I'm a sales manager here. I'll be the one moving forward with this webinar. So the agenda will be, we'll first talk a little bit about InHand. For our existing customers, we already know a lot about me and about our company, but a little refresher never hurts. And for any new people who are attending this webinar, I'll give you a little idea about our company and what we do and where we focus. Then we'll move along to challenges of the connected retail business. Why do you want cellular? Why do you not want connectivity? Why do you need, security, stability? We'll kind of talk about the reason people are moving to wireless. And then we'll talk a little bit about our solutions. And then last, we'll talk about some of the applications and success stories that we've already been doing in the market. So about InHand Networks. We were founded in 2001, and we're considered a global leader in industrial IoT. So think oil and gas, think plants, factories, original equipment makers, manufacturers, anywhere where you need, high temperature spec, you need a lot of different electromagnetic protections for your products, places where if your connectivity goes down, you're going to lose a lot of money, you're going to lose a lot of time. Where reliability and redundancy is a must-have, and really just kind of spaces that pertain around that. And we've been developing and expanding over the years, bringing different solutions within the grid, within the factories, within transportation. And like I said, and now we're moving more into the business-to-business and unattended retail space. We provide best-in-class hardware and management software for M2M applications, IoT. For those who aren't familiar, machine-to-machine. So think, I need one device in a remote area to communicate with another device. There's not really a human involved. And then the Internet of Things, where everything's talking and connected. Traditionally, what we provide is complete IoT solutions. That's more or less some of the newer things we've been doing in the grid, overhead line monitoring, waveform and pattern analysis, artificial intelligence. We've also done some in industrial for predictive maintenance, remotely fixing problems so you don't have to physically send someone there, and then providing the connectivity and the management needed in the retail space. As far as in 2016, we moved out over 200,000 IoT gateways. So these are connected devices over cellular. It's an increase of 55%. So every year we have good steady growth. The market of IoT and M2M, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's expected to grow exponentially. So the challenges of connected retail business. So for the people with retail businesses, obviously, one would think that the needs are very different from the industrial aspect of things and from your grid and your water utilities. But the truth is, they have a lot of similar challenges. You have businesses, you have devices such as kiosks, you have ATMs, you have point of sale systems like your credit card readers, your debit card readers. You have all these devices, and traditionally, all of them aren't in one place. They're dispersed. So you need to connect those back. You need to, for financials, you need to move the data back to the payment processor and, the old way was you plug into an RJ11 for phone. Well, with that, obviously, the cost nowadays is quite more expensive. It's quite a bit more expensive than cellular. And even if you went with an Ethernet feed for the internet in your business, then you're relying upon the actual site and their network. And if their network goes down, then you can't process financial transactions. So whether it's an ATM operator who can't actually make money because no credit card or because no debit cards are taking money out of their account, or whether you're a business using, you know, some type of Verifone or some type of card reader, you know, you're only going to be able to accept cash transactions. So, I mean, truthfully, the need for connectivity is just as great within these retail spaces as they are in the industrial space. And they need the high level of reliability just as much. I mean, digital signage, you know, if you're not advertising, then you're not making money. And like I said, it's just pretty broad. So the challenges connected business, we'll get onto the PowerPoint slide here. Maintain always on connectivity and uptime. You know, so you need connected, and like I just said, you know, with many of these different market spaces and applications, when your device is not connected, you're losing money and you're losing face with your customer base. Another big thing I'm sure has been funneling around all the nation, I mean, even internationally, is security. So when you're dealing with financial transactions or when you're getting paid to do advertisements, when you have these devices that are dependent upon, you know, running and hold information that you need to protect, you know, security is a big thing. Attacks and IoT and M2M have been doing nothing but increasing over the years. So, you know, this is another part that it's just as important. In the industrial space, you know, if someone hacks into your power plant, they can shut down your operations or cause critical failures. Easy and fast network deployment. This obviously is even more relevant to the retail business side of things. I mean, the end user, the end operator is not going to have a massive IT staff. And even if they do, you know, the time it takes to connect your devices and get them out in the market is going to determine how quickly you can start making money from your investment. So, you know, the idea is that you need to be able to get it out quickly, and it should be a simple setup. I mean, the more time you save, that's just more money saved. Low maintenance cost. I mean, you know, everyone could run off of fiber if they had the physical assets in place. But, you know, the maintenance cost to install and maintain this connectivity, you know, the cost of having a guy who can go around to your different sites and ensure that, you know, the network's up and running, that everything's configured right, you know, the cost is too high. Whereas with cellular, your whole back-end network, it's maintained by Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or depending on whatever country you go to, there's a whole industry fueled by the consumer itself that's maintaining your back end. And with that part, you don't have to worry about, you know, relying on someone else's network and the outages and downtime that comes from that. So really, cellular is the way of the future for connecting devices and people. And of course, more flexibility and scalability. I mean, it feeds into what I just said. You know, when you're on your own network, your options, you know, they expand exponentially. And as far as scalability, when we're dealing with, you know, the cellular network, you don't have to worry about adding in extra hardware, you know, getting the store or getting the site to actually add Ethernet connections, you know, to provide more robust Wi-Fi to connect more devices. No, it's, you know, it's all you. You have the ability to scale as much as your business needs. And then with the monitoring and the management on the cloud side of things, I mean, all you do is go in and increase your number of connections, and that's it. There's no go out and shop for hardware configuration setup time. So like I said, these are the challenges of connecting retail businesses, you know, for kiosk, unattended space, and, you know, your typical B2B applications. So connectivity for retail applications. I talked a little bit about it, but, you know, right now a lot of people will use wired, or I'll even expand and say Wi-Fi, because you have a wired connection in there. for your final gateway. It's difficult to deploy and definitely to relocate. So if you deploy to a site, you take all the time to make sure that you have connectivity, you have Ethernet or Wi-Fi, and then you find out that that location is not ideal or it's not performing as it was expected. Now you need to relocate. So you have to take into all the considerations of, all right, where's the ideal location? And once you find it, how am I going to get my wire there? How am I going to make sure that it's an optimal Wi-Fi? Am I going to have the security over the Wi-Fi? There's a lot of aspects that come into just simply relocating. The high maintenance costs, like I said, at that point you're depending on, physical infrastructure to some extent, and that has to be maintained. And the network, it's all on you at that point, or it's on your customer or partner, and maybe they're not willing to make the investment needed to facilitate your needs. And then, of course, network outages, which equals loss of revenue. If I have a convenience store and my internet connectivity goes out, I'm not going to care as much that the ATM isn't working. It's the same thing if it's in some type of strip mall or in some type of, big super mall. I mean, if connectivity goes out in an area, that's not going to be my number one priority. That's not the focus of my business. So your digital signage, your kiosks that are out there doing advertising, it's going to go down and you're going to lose money. Whereas with the cellular networks, wide 3G, 4G coverage, multiple failovers, you can use the existing infrastructure, and then you can immediately fail over to 4G, or you can fail over to 3G. You could be using the 4G network. If it goes out, it'll fail over to 3G. And at that point, you're depending on the cellular carrier, who isn't just catering to you. When it goes out, everyone with a cellular device, all those smartphones, all those subscriptions, there's a lot more pressure to add in more reliability and redundancy, and the recovery rate will be a lot faster than waiting for some IT network guy to get around to your site to get it up and running when it's not the top of the priority list. Easy to deploy. You can deploy it anywhere that you have connectivity. You just plug and play. If you want to move it from one site to another site for maybe more visibility, more foot traffic for your digital signage industry, for your ATM, if you need to change your point of sales location, if you're dealing with some type of vending machine or a micro market, you want to deploy it to another area, you don't have to go through all those steps that's required for a wired network. It's just as simple as move it and make sure that you have signal strength, which in today's day and age, there's excellent coverage and always on high reliability. So, like I mentioned previously with the wired network side of things, the cellular industry, they're catering to millions and millions and millions of users, and you're all using the same infrastructure. So it's not just pressure from you, but for everyone else that uses the cellular network. So typically you'll have less outages, and even if there's an outage, usually they have some type of failover to maybe like I said, like 3G or maybe a weaker coverage, but you'll still be connected. So InHand Cellular Solutions for retail. So now that we kind of iron things out that, really cellular is the better of the two options, I'll talk a little bit about what InHand can provide along the solution side. So we're a hardware manufacturer of industrial cellular routers. So obviously the base solution is connectivity. So an in-router cellular gateway of some make and model will provide connectivity to these unattended retail, devices. And you can even use it for, connectivity for business to business. If you need to connect a site to another site, or you need a failover, connectivity is the main focus in our business. So you can use a 4G, LTE, 3G, depending upon your location. We can facilitate any type of VPN you want to use, whether it's IPsec, OpenVPN, GRE, the list goes on and on. So ubiquitous and high bandwidth 4G LTE. So one of the beauties of connectivity today over cellular with our products is you can get higher bandwidth. So you're not limited by, what you can move. If you want to do a device, an ATM, and it has a camera built into it, or a micro market would definitely have camera or video with it. you're going to need that higher bandwidth. Secure connectivity using VPN technology. Like I said, you can use, all of our products come standard with a firewall. It's got an access control list. It's got stateful packet inspection. It's got anti-DOS and distributed DOS, which would be, for those unfamiliar, denial of service attack. So that way, if your device is targeted, you don't have to worry about it losing connectivity from some type of malicious attack. We also support many different types of VPN technologies. So you can choose whatever type of VPN fits your business model the best. And you have the option between connecting to physical hardware or doing a cloud type solution. I know we mentioned a little bit in our last webinar, a virtual private network. Always on connectivity, assure 100% uptime. Now this is a part that I'll highly emphasize, because don't forget, we are an industrial company. So our target base is the oil rigs out in Texas, for example, that when they go down, they're losing tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for every hour that they're not pumping oil. So remember, this is the customer base that we traditionally cater to. So compared to a lot of our other competitors, which I hear quite frequently, they say to get a 20 or a 15% downtime is considered acceptable in the market space, is unacceptable for our product line. So having that ability to always stay connected, the different levels of redundancy, the actual build of the product to handle higher temperature spec and different types of electrical interference, it plays a huge part and role in keeping your connectivity up, which is keeping you profitable. Easy deployment, lower cost. We make devices so that way they can auto negotiate APNs, an easy user interface, command line for those with a little more network savvy, having the ability to just easily plug it in, drop your SIM card in, and deploy it to the field. So that way you don't have to worry about, well, how do I plan my network deployment? And of course, we do also offer remote management via the InHand cloud. And it's an outstanding software. I'll talk a little more about it as we go along, but it'll allow you to manage your overall network and all your connected devices from one easy, simple to use platform. So best in class 3G, 4G LTE cellular gateways. We have the InRouter 600 series, which is comprised of the IR611S and the IR615. They're low cost cellular gateways. These are perfect for, I've got an ATM I need to deploy. I just need connectivity, maybe a VPN. I still need that high level of redundancy and failover. And then we have our InRouter 900 series, which is, in essence, this series is even used in the grid. So, you can take this, it's got an EMC level 4 or 5 spec on it. I mean, I could take it and put it in a panel beside a transformer and it would still perform at peak optimacy. And in essence, I mean, these products, if you need something where you need dual SIMs, you need multiple failovers, you need a high level of customization. It has an open API for Python, so you can go in and script the router to do whatever the firmware doesn't support. Whether you want to do computing at the edge or whether you want to, do protocol conversion, whatever you can come up with, it can be scripted in Python and run over the router. So this is, a much more enterprise grade router. So all of our products come with ruggedized design, metal enclosures, IP30, like I said, EMC level 4, 3, depending on the model. The temperature range is rated at -25 Celsius to 70 Celsius. So if you want to deploy it in a device outdoors, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about some type of coolant or some type of heater to, keep your electronics up and running. Wide voltage, you can do DC 9 to 26 volts. So it's no issue there. And we do have adapters if you want to connect it to AC. They're compact, easy to fit. They're made, ideally most of our products were made to fit in panels for industrial sector. So, you don't have to worry about consuming space or you have some commercial grade box that doesn't really fit well anywhere. These products are made to be built inside of, different types of panels or products or in places where space is very, very important. Now back to that always-on reliability, which is a cornerstone in our discussion today. So we have several different ways and features that we build into our products. Multi-layer link detection, auto recovery, link backup. I mean, we have a hardware watchdog for, actual monitoring our firmware and the software in our device. So that way, if it detects a potential fault that's going to occur, it can auto shut down and then reboot and kind of troubleshoot itself and recover. And we support 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and you can set up multiple different ways for failovers. So as I mentioned before, if you want to plug into Ethernet to maybe save on data cost a little bit or data consumption, maybe you got an Ethernet or an IP camera, you can still have it so it can fail over to 4G, or you can connect to Wi-Fi and have it fail over, or vice versa. Also, we do have, we support VRRP, which is Virtual Router Redundancy Protocol, and this is another great feature. For my network guys who aren't familiar with it, it's pretty much load balancing and router failover. So I could deploy 2 routers in one location, and they can load balance between the data that comes in, or if one router completely fails, it'll fail over to the other router. So you can set up a lot of different levels of redundancy, whether you're looking at the lower network layers or whether you're looking at the whole product and the carriers. High level of data security with, like I said, security being such an important topic of today and all the liability shifts that are moving around, especially in the financial industry with these EMV chips going in and the readers, data transmission security. As I mentioned, we support many different types of VPN. So that way you can protect the data that's being moved, firewall protection, DOS, SPI, your access control list. It's all built in there. Remember, we protect industrial and utility grade customers. We also do a bunch in healthcare too. So, meeting those different regulations for data security, it's something we've already been there and done it for very large customers internationally. And then, of course, multi-level user authentication. So you can use your tax radio server if you want to authenticate via different types of certificates. Even inside our clouds, you can go in and manage different users who has access to read, write. So our products give you overall a very high level of control and the ability to protect your data, as it's received and moved from the router. And easy to deploy and manage. I kind of touched base on that earlier. Support APN auto negotiation. So when you drop your SIM in, traditionally you're not going to have to go through and look up your APN and look up your username and password. It's just our router is going to talk to the SIM. It's going to pull that data and go ahead and drop it in the configuration. Got a command line interface for our more network savvy gentlemen and ladies. We have a user-friendly web configuration, very simple, well set up. You can go in and change any of your configs, and then you can save your configurations and you can share it among different routers. We support SNMP version 1, 2, and 3. So if you've got your own kind of network management running locally or maybe remotely, you can still use that same protocol. And then, of course, our device manager for batch configs and central network management. Because deploying and, activating your device is one thing, but you still got to manage it. So the less work that it takes to do that, the more smoothly your business is going to run, and I hope you keep your networks up at a much higher rate. So the device cloud. So pretty much our device manager, this feature of our cloud platform, it's mostly for monitoring, your network, your devices, what gateways and routers are online, which ones are offline. You can also pull up the different reports to check and see what your downages are, your uptime. You can also monitor your data consumption from this. So if you want to set different alarms, per device, because every device usually has different needs. You can get alerts via email to tell you when your data consumption is going higher. And this also fits into security a little bit because in IoT and M2M, a more common revelation is that in cellular, when people maliciously attack your equipment, they might not gain access, but the continued attempts of the malware to access your device can run up your data costs. So one of your first red flags that someone is actually attacking my network might be a higher level of consumption, or the consumption scaling up at nighttime when the device isn't being used, when there's no customers, when there's no activity. It's a good early warning system for different types of security threats. Also, you can do batch configurations. So I can pretty much do up a config file, and then I can upgrade 1,000 routers at a time. So when you have a large-scale deployment, not having to go in one by one and configure those devices and do it all remotely at one time is an excellent feature that most of our customers thoroughly enjoy. And then if you don't have a large group of devices and you want to go in and make manual configurations, you can do that from the cloud. So you don't have to send anyone there. You just select your gateway, and then it'll pull up an interface, and you can go in and make changes to the different functions and features in the router. And of course, you get to view real-time connection status. So you'll know when your device is up, and you'll know when they're down. And as I touched base on just a little earlier, multi-level user access. So you can assign different privileges, different users, and then you can limit, who can have access to see this information, and then who can actually go in and change it. So now we'll kind of touch base into success stories and different applications, things that have, worked very well for us, that we see are very repeatable solutions. So for this one, Wincor, Nixdorf, Union Pay, major banks. So from the financial aspect for ATMs, we've seen a lot in China, we've seen it in Canada, we've seen it in the US. It's just basic connectivity. The router connects to your POS system, your card reader, or your ATM. It's going to create that VPN and move that data to the payment processor, and then the payment processor will send it back so the transaction can be processed. And sooner or later, we'll be launching our own smart ATM platform, it'll have the features built in it from Device Manager, but it'll be more focused around financial transactions, the needs of the actual ATM and the POS customer. Like I said, China Construction Bank, Bank of China, IBC, Wincor, Union Pay. I mean, we've connected more than 30,000 ATMs with this solution, and we have a very, very low level of downtime on our products. So that's, in essence, that's what keeps us in the ATM industry. We can be competitive on price, but at the same time, we can provide you spec and features that you won't find with any other, router supplier for your commercial products. Their big focuses are high security, because we're moving financial information. So, we can support your carrier's private network if you want to, put your liability and focus on them. We can do secure VPN transmission for these cache flows. So, any type of VPN that you or your customer is using, we can support it. And then our firewalls will protect the network against attacks. And I already kind of covered some of the features in that. The other main issue is high reliability. So once again, when we're talking POS and ATM, if you're not connected, you can't do a transaction and you can't make any money. So all these auto recovery and redundancy features plays a key role that really sets us apart from, your traditional commercial supplier. Another interesting one that still ties into POS is you don't have to focus at all on a cellular device on every single end device. So we've done different applications with Wi-Fi coverage. Very simple. Deploy an IR611. It connects to a VPN. The same topology as before, but the difference is you can connect other IR611s that will act as a Wi-Fi repeater. So what this means is the IR611, you can order one without cellular and just Wi-Fi, and then you can connect back to that other gateway, to the other 611, and it'll act as both a client to get connectivity from the default gateway, and then it'll also act as an access point to provide that connectivity to other devices. So whether you have a car wash, for example, or a set of car washes that are near a gas station, the car wash isn't traditionally going to be sitting right next to your brick and mortar store. There's going to be a little bit of distance there. You don't want to really have to run wire, go under the asphalt or run it from a higher elevation. And then when you're running wires, you have to deal with the issue of it's a car wash. There's water. There's a lot of different outside environmental factors that can influence, a hardline connection. So like I said, you can use one data plan for your back end, and a POS system does not consume much data anyway. So you can connect multiple devices and keep it on the same plan. And then high security and reliability, your information is still being sent over a VPN. You still have the firewall to protect against, attacks on the network and to limit who can access the Wi-Fi, auto recovery. So you still have the same features. Even for the device that doesn't have cellular, you can still use different failover technologies. And the hardware watchdog will still be monitoring the device itself for any type of firmware or hardware failures. The next one we'll touch in is digital signage, because this is just as important to have these features built in for media and content, because advertisers are getting paid to show content. They're getting, it's every minute needs to be recorded. You need to know when you're showing certain advertisements. Some people pay to show at a certain time of day, a certain number of hours in the day, or a number of times that the video or image is rotated through. So not only do you need to keep those running, but you also need to be able to track, what you've shown and what you haven't, and show your customer that you are in fact advertising. So AirMedia is the leading operator of air travel advertisements in China. The application was to connect different LED advertising screens in the airport. They like the idea of using cellular based upon the, having the ability to have a separate network just for the advertising and not be reliant upon the airport. To update their digital content remotely, no manual labor required. So when a new customer wants to advertise, they don't have to physically send someone there and upload it. And the LTE high bandwidth enables videos and large file updates. So unlike the days of 2G, you can do a lot more over cellular. Another good instance of digital signage is TMS Technologies. They're a leader in urban public transportation smart solutions. So this is digital signage, but it's also kind of smart city for those of you familiar with this new wave and growth within metropolitan areas. So they use an IR615 to connect the digital display to the transportation center. So it's not just advertising, but also they're updating bus arrival times, traffic conditions in real time. So that way when someone gets on their public transportation, they're going to know when's the next bus coming, when's my transfer coming, roughly how long is it going to take me to get to my location, because this is all connected back to a database, to real-time information. It's not just a dumb screen with rough estimates on when the buses arrive. And then router 615 is perfect for this because it's an outdoor location. When you have a kiosk, you have an ATM, you have some type of application where your device is outside, you can buy a commercial product, but your downtime is going to be much greater because, your different factors of humidity, temperature, and the actual wear and tear on the device are going to be a lot greater. So even if your uptime isn't that bad, maybe it's acceptable, the life cycle of your product is going to be a lot less than an industrial grade product. So you can get a really cheap, low-grade product, but if you have to replace it every 2 or 3 years, maybe even every year, I mean, is it really worth going with a commercial-grade product? Another one for digital signage, the British American Tobacco. Connected digital signs is just basic digital signage. They use network connectivity. They use the VPN. I mean, the unique thing about security over the internet is that, hackers aren't always looking just to hack into that ATM and steal your credit card information. There's a lot of different factors that fall into these malicious people, and some of them are just as content to hack into a digital screen and put up their own images or to just shut it down. So having that network security, having that uptime to keep your digital images displaying, update your content, sales, promotions, promote your social media, the growth of your company. It's all important, and the backbone of it all is connectivity. For this one, People's Daily, they operate over 40,000 kiosks, and it grows every year. Interactive newspapers located in government agencies, universities. So, this is where people get their news, they get information, they get updates, what's happening in the city, where to go, places to visit, local restaurants, everything from advertisement to just information to keep the public informed. And we provide that real-time connectivity. And, like I said, when you have 40,000 kiosks, some are indoors, some are outdoors. So, it's better to just go with one product that can fit all. Now, another interesting one for kiosk is gaming systems. So in the casinos, having the devices connected is a huge thing, and having security for, it's a financial transactions in essence, is a huge component. And also it can send out errors, to let them know that the gambling machine, the slot machine, whatever device they have connected, the money's full. Maybe there's an error with the device. It needs to be, troubleshoot. They need to fix it. They need to take it offline so they don't have a line of customers asking, hey, this machine took my money. I need to get it back. They need to keep the machine up and running, have that connectivity to make money. It's this very similar concept. Another interesting kiosk story, Photo Me. So this is kind of like the old photo booths you used to go into. You can either get it printed, you can get it digital. They need to have it connected. And the unique thing about this one is that you can also do official IDs. So it's not just for, hey, I want to take a selfie with my friends at the mall or at the carnival. You can get professional pictures done by this machine, and then you can have printouts, and then you can have ones emailed. So then in-router is providing that reliable connectivity, is feeding it back to the data center. They can update their pricing, they can update the different advertisements they have on it. Costa Coffee, another interesting kiosk solution. Send real-time data management for the center. And for this machine, it's very important to have connectivity because, in essence, it's part of your vending style management. You need alerts on your coffee beans, your water, your milk, your inventory. You also need to have access to the controller in the machine. So if there is a technical issue, not just kind of an inventory is low, that way you can go in and troubleshoot. And not only will you know when things start to get low, but you'll know exactly, this is the exact amount I need per machine. This is the exact amount of coffee beans, the location, and you can manage and track all that. So it's a huge part of their business operations, and they save a lot of operational costs by having that real-time data. And, I would expand further on this and say, depending on what type of coffee they make, maybe it's something like a Starbucks, you might want to also have a POS system in there, so that way you can receive credit card payment and expand the customer base that you reach out to, because then you're not just going for cash and coin. Other applications, I mentioned before, we talked about self-service kiosks. There's some that are in remote sites, some that are at banks, bill payment kiosk. EV chargers is one I didn't really touch on. We've done some applications with that. The EV charger, you need to know, how many devices is it charging, how much energy is flowing through it. A lot of EV charging stations today are going green, and they'll do solar. So you're looking at an outdoor application. Also, you need to track how much energy is being provided by the solar. What's my consumption in the day? Do I need to add more EV chargers because I'm draining the battery more than the solar panel can manage? Other applications, failover for emergency, disaster, and control. This is more of a business to business. Having the ability so when something goes wrong, you always have a backup network to fall back on. So, these are just a lot of different ideas and concepts of what we have done and what can be done, different applications within Smart City. Overall, the InHand Cellular Gateway can facilitate the needs, whether it be the redundancy, a more ruggedized and longer life cycle, or the ability to provide top-level security. At this point, we'll take any questions, and hopefully we can answer whatever you'd like to know.